With the Alien franchise on hold, or at least stalled while Disney decides how to handle their new queen, the fan base received a ray of hope, or at least a new perspective on the series, choosing to go into sequel territory instead of Ridley Scott's recent prequel film direction. When news came out of a possible Alien 5 movie from young sci-fi director Neil Blomkamp, fans were intrigued. When it was announced that the movie would feature Ellen Ripley along with Newt and Hicks, nostalgic fans of Aliens went crazy. Unfortunately, the movie is stuck in limbo, yet there are hopes of resurrection coming from none other than James Cameron himself. There's a lot to go over here that many of you may not know about the proposed Alien Xeno or Alien 5 project, so let's go back to the beginning to see just what the future may hold. Way back in January 2015, Neil Blomkamp, the director of District 9 and Chappie, released artwork pertaining to his personal Alien project that he had been working on secretly during the filming and production of Chappie. It just so happens that one of the actresses on Chappie was Ellen Ripley herself, Sigourney Weaver. Being a huge fan of the franchise, Neil couldn't wait to share his ideas with her. It just so happened that Sigourney liked the idea so much that she thought her character Ripley should be added into the mix. Neil thought that she wouldn't want to reprise her role as Ripley, but she responded as saying, no, I actually would make another one because I felt that Ripley's story didn't end correctly. Now right off, here's a bit of information that many don't know, and it's the fact that the original idea for this movie did not feature any characters from Aliens. The original idea went by the working title Alien Xeno or Red Harvest as an homage to the working title of Return of the Jedi, Blue Harvest. The story was to take place within the Alien universe during a time frame that existed between Aliens and Alien 3, yet it was not directly linked to either film. Once Blomkamp knew that Sigourney wanted to add Ripley into the fray, he had to go back and change things up in order to include not only Ripley, but he chose to add in Hicks and Newt as well. Unfortunately, we just don't know at this time how much the story changed to accompany the new characters, and we don't know if any of the concept art that's been released is from before this change or after. This rewrite or rewrites are important to note because it shows that the intention was never to retcon Alien 3 and Alien Resurrection. Much of what we actually know about possible story and plotlines comes from the released concept art. Now I know that many of us have already seen these images, but one thing that I've noticed is that no one seems to be talking about is that there were official titles for many of these pictures that many seem to have missed. This gives us a little more insight into what the concept art is actually about. First off, I want to point out that this image here has been wrongly identified as official concept art for the film. Unfortunately, this is artwork of a fan and not a concept artist. But you do have to admit it's a beautiful piece nonetheless. One thing that let me know right off that it probably wasn't true concept art was that the Yutani logo was present on the ship. With the timeframes mentioned in this movie, the company would have already merged into Weyland Yutani. Now on to the official concept art. And first up, let's take a look at concept artist D. Jahal and their contributions. The first print here is simply titled Alien 5 Building 2. There's not much we can gather from this image besides the sheer scale of this structure. I can definitely see an Aliens design vibe going on here in the building's makeup. But beyond the size, there isn't much to go on here. The next image is much more interesting. Here we have a picture titled Alien 5 Factory. We can see what is obviously a derelict or juggernaut type spacecraft in what looks to be some kind of enormous hangar. This could be located in or tied to the building that we saw in the last image. The craft looks like it's not done being constructed or grown, especially on the right side here on the end. It almost looks like the ship is being built using a substance similar to the excretions of the aliens that we see in their hives. Now it's important to note that this title is called Factory, so I don't think this ship that they have here is recovered from LV-426 or LV-223. Instead, this may be a ship that they're constructing themselves. This craft, along with other concept art, at least to me, give off a space jockey vibe. And I mean pre-Prometheus, not necessarily an engineer vibe, which I think may have shown conflict with the prequels. This could be a reason why the movie didn't get made, but I'll dig a little deeper into that in a bit. The next image we have here is called Alien 5 Weyland. To me, this is obviously showing terraforming technology from Weyland Yutani, which is why I believe the image is titled Weyland in the first place. Now I do notice that there are 2 people by the water's edge, and it is possible that one of them is a descendant or a new CEO or important person within the company. But I believe the title is more focusing on the use of terraforming technology instead, as that was the main income and one of the main priorities of the company. We can also note that this area is under a structure, likely similar to the structure that we saw with the factory. Now even more interesting is the next image, where we see an alien queen running loose in this terraformed or indoor jungle environment. The title for this image is Alien 5 Hunting. I would think that if they were holding this queen in a breeding environment, that this ecosystem's not really fitting for what an alien queen would surround herself in, so to me it's likely that this queen has broken free, as they usually do, and is hunting down her captives. Now we see in later images that they had ideas of mutated and differently morphed aliens, so I can see where some fans have said that it's possible that this is a zoo type area. This could give them different types of xenomorphs to study, similar to what we saw in Alien 3 and the extended universe. Next up we have an alien hunting someone in a vent shaft. This image was just titled Alien 5, but cut off at the bottom is what looks like part of the phrase Red Harvest, which will tie this art into that of the next artist. Here we see what most fans are saying is a scene showing egg morphing. Now I admit I would love to see egg morphing make its return to the actual movie franchise, but the title of this is actually Melting. Now that doesn't mean that this isn't referring to egg morphing, but I think it may have to do with some kind of hybrid or some other kind of experimentation. I guess it's also possible that this individual is simply melting from xenomorph acid blood, but the victim here looks to be tied to some kind of hive-like structure, so I'm leaning more towards egg morphing or some kind of experiment. Next up we have an image titled Hicks, showing an appropriately aged Hicks still wearing the scars from his last encounter with the aliens. This next image shows Ripley along with Hicks with what looks like a soldier wearing some kind of armored suit bearing the flag of South Korea. This image is titled Mercenaries, and it's likely that Ripley and Hicks are working with a team of mercenaries, possibly against Weyland-Yutani. The next image, titled Together, shows Ripley and Hicks, yet this time we see that Hicks is armed with a shotgun and Ripley has a bomb strapped to her waist. This makes sense as they are probably going up against a well-armored company in Weyland-Yutani, so they have to use guerrilla tactics in order to confront this opponent. This next artist is one of my favorite concept artists out there, Carlos Huante. He's done concept art for the prequel movies, and now we can see some of his amazing and beautiful works in this series of mutated aliens. Now it should be noted that shortly after this artwork was posted online, it was taken down, yet it's still available on many websites out there, so I'm going to go ahead and show it to you here. What follows is a series of elegantly sculpted aliens with the sleek stylings of H.R. Giger. Now Carlos wouldn't say what alien film this was for, but he did say it wasn't for Prometheus or Covenant, but for some other project. It's obviously meant for Alien 5 because we see the phrase Red Harvest here, tying it into the concept art from earlier. While the first few images resemble the Ultramorph concept that would eventually become the Deacon in Prometheus, the next few images show multi-armed and more heavily mutated aliens, giving us the idea that of course Weyland-Yutani is messing around with the xenomorph and possibly making hybrids. When viewing these two images, I can't help but be reminded of Fifield from Prometheus. Are these hybrids, or are they just severely mutated? Perhaps the most intriguing picture from Carlos though is this one here, showing an alien strapped to a chair, similarly to how the space jockey or engineers connect to the pilot seat of their craft. On the next piece of art simply shows us what looks to be your standard Colonial Marines dropship in some kind of bay attached to a large mechanical arm. This image goes along with the others, showing that the time frame of the movie takes place between Aliens and Alien 3. On the same lines, we also got this image of a slightly updated Colonial Marines pulse rifle, again showing that timeline of the proposed film to take place shortly after Aliens. I don't have the artist for these next two images either, but here are some concept designs for outfits to be worn in the film. On the left is a female in what looks to be a military or some kind of company garment, including a more robust suit complete with an oxygen mask, possibly for use in space or other low oxygen environments. On the right, we can see Newt, pictured here in similar gear, aged into her late 20s or 30s. This introduction of Newt as a character is important because of an interview with Michael Biehn, who played Hicks in Aliens. He stated that he was set to reprise his role as Hicks along with Ripley and Newt, He then explained that the film would be used to pass the torch from Ellen Ripley down to Newt. This way the studio could hand the baton off to a younger actress and take the franchise off into its next group of films. He even notes that due to her age, an actress such as Jennifer Lawrence would most likely play the role, but no decisions had been made yet as to who would actually play that role. He then stated that Alien 3 and 4 would never exist and the movie would retcon the films. He would later retract these statements, but I wouldn't be surprised if the idea of passing the torch to Newt wasn't something that the studio wanted to do in order to bring youth into the franchise. This idea of retconning Alien 3 and Alien Resurrection would actually upset some fans, causing Neil to state that the films would not be retconned and that they would still exist, yet he didn't give any information as to how this would be done. Would they simply state that the third and fourth films were a dream and cryosleep? Or would we get some kind of alternate universe situation? Even though I hate the idea, it's possible that far into the future, after the events of Alien Resurrection, the company or someone has discovered time travel. We learned from Alien Resurrection that the aliens are now on Earth, so maybe they go back in time to save Ripley, Hicks, and Newt in order to save mankind and the home planet. Anything's possible when Fox is involved, and they will likely still be in charge of the franchise, unfortunately, with oversight from Disney. This idea of Newt carrying the torch is very similar to what's going on with Amanda Ripley in the Alien Isolation universe. And this makes sense when you think about it. When Blomkamp was interviewed about what his favorite entry into the Alien franchise is, he said, Alien Isolation. That's right, the video game. Not Alien and not Aliens. These next two images are from another unknown artist. The first one shows what looks to be some kind of new type of facehugger or proto-facehugger. These almost resemble the first H.R. Giger designs for the facehugger that went unused. And speaking of unused, the egg here even looks like that original egg that H.R. Giger designed, which also went unused because of its single slit opening design, which looked too close to a vagina, so the cross design was used instead. The other image may be the most talked about one released so far, and it's the one that depicts Ellen Ripley wearing some kind of alien armor or outfit. With the side view of the shot, we can see the title Pilot Space Jockey, and we can even see that it has some kind of oxygen mask built into it. Even though I love the look of this image, I can't help but think that this may be the image behind the idea that may have caused this movie to get put into limbo. When I look at the factory image showing the derelict craft, as well as looking at the possible egg morphing picture and the alien suit worn by Ripley, I get this distinct feeling of space jockey technology. And when I say space jockey tech, I'm not talking about engineer technology. Even though Ridley Scott sees the space jockey as the engineers as one and the same, these images feel to me like they're carrying on technology from the space jockey and not from the engineers. This could easily be why the film was put on the back burner. Ridley Scott had just finished Prometheus and was getting started on Prometheus 2. And then here comes Blomkamp along with Alien 5. Fox had no idea he was even working on the film and was blindsided by it. But that's not to say they didn't love the idea. In fact, they jumped on board quickly, leading people to believe that they were going to go forward with both the sequel of Prometheus and the Alien 5 film. Now, I don't think if this film was simply about xenomorphs and the characters from Aliens that it would have conflicted with the prequels at all. But images like this harkens back to the original pre-engineered space jockey, or in the very least, alien tech and not necessarily engineer tech, and may have conflicted with the direction that Fox and Ridley Scott were going with Prometheus, Alien Covenant, and a possible third film to tie into Alien. Either way, all of these other images show us that the company, Weyland-Yutani, has finally met their end goal. They have the alien, and not only that, but they also have the ship and possibly other technology from the space jockey. All throughout the series, we've seen the company trying to get to the alien tech. And now they not only have it, but we're going to see what they're going to do with it once they have it. Right before I was putting this video together, we got even more concept art, this time from Farzad Varamian. These images are reminiscent of the mutated alien images by Carlos that we saw earlier. The first image almost resembles the snake alien from the Kenner line in the 90s. It almost has no torso and instead is just a long tail with a head attached, having multiple legs. The next image is even more bizarre, showing what looks to be a normal alien except that it has multiple heads. These more recent images lend even more credence to the thought that I had that this movie would be showcasing Weyland-Yutani's end goal and all of the crazy stuff they would do once they had their hands on all of this alien and or space jockey tech. Both of the images have ADI stamped on them, and ADI has done a lot of amazing work with the Alien franchise already. We even have this mock-up from them of an alien looking much like the standard smooth dome big chap type alien, except for it has small extra arms, much like those of an alien queen. According to Alec Gillis of ADI, from an HN Entertainment interview, the film would have used more practical effects when possible over CGI. Blomkamp stated that he wanted to film this in order to set up a way of shooting that would be similar to the way Ridley Scott filmed Alien. So what eventually happened with the movie? Did Ridley Scott kill it in favor of his own prequel franchise? He has been quoted as saying that he should have never let go of the franchise in the first place, and now that he has it again, he's not going to let go of it again, so it is possible. There are other contradictions from Scott that go against statements from Sigourney Weaver and James Cameron, showing that he either didn't see enough to go forward with the project, or that he felt that it would conflict with his own. Both Cameron and Weaver said that they had read a script and that it was, quote, gangbusters. Yet Ridley Scott, whose production company Scott Free was brought in to produce the film, says that there never was a script and nothing more than 10 pages or so, and that Fox chose not to do anything with it. It should be noted, however, that it was reported that the plot of Alien 5 had been altered slightly following a meeting between Blomkamp and Ridley Scott to avoid clashes between the film and Scott's then unnamed Prometheus sequel, Alien Covenant. Blomkamp also confirmed the film would not be called Alien 5, saying it gives away too much if I say the title. In the end, here's a quote from Neil on how the project finally fell apart. "It's sad. I spent a long time working on that, and I feel like it was really pretty awesome. But politically, the way it's gone now, and the way that it all is, it's just not going to live. Ridley was one of my idols growing up. He's so talented and he's made this film that really set me off in a direction. I want to be respectful and not go stamping around in this world that he created. I think that if the circumstances were different and I didn't feel like I was getting too close to something he obviously feels a massive personal connection to, that things may have played out differently. But I did want to be as respectful as possible." So where does this leave us now? Unfortunately, the last few mentions of Alien 5 for Neil Blomkamp were all pretty gloomy. He has since moved on to work on other projects, and now the Alien franchise is held in limbo until Disney decides what they're going to do going forward. But there is hope on the horizon. James Cameron was recently chatting with IGN's Robert Rodriguez about Alita Battle Angel when Cameron was asked if he would contact Neil Blomkamp about his rumored Alien movie, to which Cameron replied, "I'm working on that." So what do you guys think? Do you want to see Blomkamp's Alien 5? If so, should it retcon or include Alien 3 and 4? I'd love to hear your thoughts and comments down below.